Hello my friends and welcome back. Let's continue talking about the suit designs of Kamen Rider with the first 3 seasons of the Heisei Era, Kamen Riders Kuuga, Agito, and Ryuki. I know last time I said I'd be going through Blade, but that's a lot more suits than I was anticipating that I was going to be talking about, and it was just really hard to try and condense into a 15-ish minute long video. Trust me, I tried to. It wasn't pretty. As I said last time, though, each rider will have a minimum of 1 suit and a maximum of 5. That is a proto form if they've got it, their base form that every rider will have one of, an upgrade, super, and final form. Unlike last time, I'm actually going to be adding in a ranking system out of 5 this time, though. Just so that people get a bit better understanding of where I find my opinions for each of these suits. Without further ado, let's dive into the first character of the Heisei Era Kamen Riders with Kamen Rider Kuuga. Kuuga has a proto form, so he will be our first rider with a 5 total suits on display, and his proto form is Kuuga growing form. Not a great form in my opinion. It's not terrible, just not superb. It definitely feels like it is the in-between as we move into Kuuga's actual base form. So I give it props for being... It does its job, it's just not super visually striking in any way. Moving on to Kuuga's base form, we get Kuuga Mighty. I really like Kuuga's base form. The red adds a nice pop. The horns are a bit longer, so that all just fleshes out. Overall, it's a very sleek suit. It then gets a very nice and subtle upgrade in his upgrade form of Kuuga Rising Mighty that adds some gold onto various elements and a shin guard for his rider kicking leg. Overall, it looks very nice. It's a pretty simple, subtle looking upgrade, but it flows well for Kuuga's aesthetic. We then go into his super form of Amazing Mighty, which I'm not the biggest fan of. It's essentially an all-black repaint of Rising Mighty, only keeping the red eyes, and we've added a second shin guard for the other leg. Which, it's fine. I just prefer the red just because it pops out a bit more, and since nothing else really changed about the suit, I'm a little underwhelmed. Going into a much better suit, though, is Kuuga's final form, Kuuga Ultimate. This is how you do an all-black suit with gold piping and red eyes. I really like the bigger shoulder pads. I like the sharp edges on the arms. I like the new helmet. I'm iffy on the leg fins just because I've always been confused by those. I get that it's trying to show that they're increasing in power. They just don't work for me though. Overall, this is a very nice suit as a first final form in the Heisei Era. Moving into Kamen Rider Agito, we get Agito ground form, his base form, which is a nice evolution from like a similarity to Kuuga's first forms. Overall, it's nice. I like the gold. I just wish that there was a little bit more of a different color to also help it pop a little bit more. Going into his upgrade form, we get Agito Trinity, which combines his base form in the center with his 2 side forms of Storm and Flame into one suit. So we've got the red arm, the blue arm, and then the gold center. I don't like the asymmetry of it, but I get what it's going for in combining the 3 powers together. Overall, it's decent. After that, we get Kamen Rider Agito Burning form, his super form, which looks very nice. I really enjoy it. The red is very nice and dynamic. I like the sharp edges on the arms again. The helmet is great. Overall, a very nice form. Until 2 episodes later, we get the debut of Agito's final form, which bursts out from burning form in the bright daylight, and that is Agito Shining form. Shining is a great suit, one of my personal favorites of Phase 1 final forms. I really like the mysterious text on the chest. I like how it is all hidden underneath the burning form suit. My only problem does still stem from that though, and that's that the helmet is the same as the burning form suit. I do wish that we got a slightly different helmet for the final form. Other than that, a great suit though. Going into Agito's secondary rider, we get Kamen Rider G3. I really like G3's suit as it's very segmented and man-made looking, which ties into its nature of being man-made. I like the subtle nods to Kuuga in the helmet. It just looks very nice in my opinion. From him, we get an escalation with Kamen Rider G3X, the final form, which is just a bulkier G3 suit, honestly. I like it a bit better. It shows that it's more capable of combat potential than the regular G3 suit, and it's a nice progression. We also get Kamen Rider G3 Mild, which is fine. It's just a different version of the G3 suit that we added some red bits to. Not bad, but not anything spectacular. After that, we get our actual tertiary rider of Kamen Rider Agito with Kamen Rider Gills. I really like the Gills suit. The helmet's great, the belt's great. My only main problem with it is that the green that they went with is a bit too dark and blends in a little bit too much with the undersuit in my opinion. But that's really kind of a nitpick. I wish it was a few shades lighter, but it's fine. Unfortunately, Exceed Gills' final form does not do it for me. The red just clashes in my opinion. We gave him fins on his feet and just weird other extendy bits that just, they don't do it for me. Moving even further into the monstrous from Gills though, we get Kamen Rider Another Agito, which is a very monstrous looking form, but I still like it. It looks good. It helps to balance out kind of a dichotomy in Agito's suit designs of the very mechanical with the G3 line, Agito in the center, and then the more monstrous forms on the other side of the scale. So Another Agito helps to balance that out. Moving back into the mechanical though, we get V1. I really enjoy V1's suit, mostly because it's entirely comprised of different elements of Metal Heroes suits, which is a different Toku franchise entirely. But the suit itself looks really nice. I really dig the all-silver, very tough-looking appearance. It just works for me, you know? Going into Agito's movie rider, who is also a villain rider, we get Kamen Rider G4, which is an upgrade escalation of the G3 series. It's now all black, it's got blue eyes instead of the orange ones, and it's much more menacing looking. Overall, it's a fine suit. I think it does its job, and it's a good villain suit. Going into the final stretch for today, we get the suits from Kamen Rider Ryuki. Starting with Ryuki's base, or proto form, my apologies, with Ryuki blank form. This is definitely just this is what Ryuki looks like before he makes his individual contract. And so it's a very plain, basic looking suit, though I do like where it's going. And we see where it is eventually going with Ryuki's base form. I really like the red. I'm very biased to this suit and all of the suits in Ryuki because it got adapted as Kamen Rider Dragon Knight here in the West, and I watched that growing up, so I have a very soft spot for the suits of this season, even if some of them aren't that great. But on Ryuki's actual base form, I really like the visor, I really like the arm piece. Overall, a very nice suit. Unfortunately, Ryuki survived. The final form does not do it for me. The helmet is great, I like some of the other things that it's going for, but it looks like a car drove through his chest, and it's just a weird look. I don't get it. It's not for me. Going into Ryuki's secondary rider, we get Kamen Rider Knight, or as many people will say, Kamen Rider Batman. He's based on a bat, he's a knight, sure, why not? I really like Knight's suit. You'll hear me say this a lot. I really enjoy the helmet. The helmets in Ryuki are almost always spot on in my books. But the chest is really good. It all just blends together very nicely. Then we get a Survive form that I really love. It's probably my favorite suit of the season, with Kamen Rider Knight Survive. I dig the cape. I really enjoy the big blue chest piece that extends the bat theme even further. The gold plays nicely with the rest of it. It's just a great form in my books. Going now into the other 11 riders of Kamen Rider Ryuki, we start with Kamen Rider Scissors. This is a crab. He's a crab. The brown is meh, in my opinion. I wish they had gone for a different color instead, just a bit lighter, or maybe a little bit darker actually. And the helmet is one of the ones that I don't actually like from this season. But other than that, it's fine. Kamen Rider Zolda is the actual tertiary rider for Ryuki. I like the green, but this does not look like a minotaur. I don't know what they did wrong to make it look so not minotaur, but it doesn't look like a minotaur to me. After that we get Kamen Rider Raya. I like the pinkish color. The yellow is a little bit iffy to me, but overall it looks nice. We then get Kamen Rider Guy, who's definitely a rhino. I like how bulky and imposing it is for this brute of a suit. And the red horn on the one shoulder looks nice. Going into our really kind of one of the main villain suits of the season, we get Kamen Rider Oja, who's definitely a snake. He's a snake. I like the suit. Some of my friends say that he's got the best suit of the season. I still think that's Knight Survive, but this is a nice suit overall. We then go into Kamen Rider Tiger. I bet you'll never guess who he's based on. Surprise! It's a tiger! Kamen Rider Tiger's suit is perfectly fine. I really enjoy it. The helmet's great, obviously. I'm a little iffy on the woolly bits, though. Then we get the absolute travesty of the season with Kamen Rider Emperor. What is this even going for? I mean, yeah, I get that it's kind of going for a gazelle, but just the helmet is weird. I really like the horns that it's got, but the actual faceplate is just bizarre, and the weird macho muscle bit in the chest is just off to me. However, we bounce back quickly from that with Kamen Rider Odin's suit. This is a menacing form. I really dig the gold and the brown. It all just plays together very nicely. The helmet's a bit whack, but overall looks very nice. Then we go into our 3 movie riders for Kamen Rider Ryuki with Kamen Rider Verde. This is a chameleon. It looks very nice. I'm a little iffy on the leg brace bit, but other than that, it's a pretty solid form. We then get our first official female Kamen Rider with Kamen Rider Femme. As I said last time, I count Electro Wave Human Tackle even though the suit isn't great, but this is what Toei considers to be the first official female rider suit, so let's talk about it. I really like the white and the gold. The cape is obviously great in my opinion, and I really like the helmet. Overall, it's a very nice and flowing form. It looks great. We then get Ryuga, Kamen Rider Ryuga, which is Dark Ryuki. That's pretty much entirely what it means, and that's what it is. Similar from Kuuga Rising Mighty to Amazing Mighty, I prefer actual Ryuki to Ryuga just because I like the red a little bit more. It pops better in my opinion. Now, those are all the writers for today, but we do still have 2 last suits to talk about, and those are Alternative and Alternative Zero, who are pseudo writers. Not quite writers, not quite monsters. They're like V1 back from Agito. And alternative is a good looking form. The difference between it and alternative 0 is just that the undersuit is darker on alternative 0, but overall they both look pretty good in my opinion. That wraps up all of the suit designs from Kamen Rider Kuuga through Ryuki. Next time I'll probably do Faiz through Hibiki. I might just do Faiz and Blade though, because Hibiki's got a lot of suits. We'll figure that out next time though. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, all the fun YouTube things. Take care, my friends.